Live yet?
Oh, Lord. Now we are.
Good evening. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined this evening by my two co-hosts, Miss Stacy and Miss G. How are you ladies doing?
Fabulous.
And I see we have a special guest, Miss Angelina. Miss Angelina, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. I thank you for having me.
Sure. What state are you coming from?
Massachusetts.
Oh, are you in the Boston area? Area?
Yes. I yes, South Shore, Boston. It's all the same, but I'm part of Boston
Have
considerably.
you heard of CPS defense attorney Seaver?
Yes, I have been in touch with him more so lately. I definitely have, and he is actually great. He's awesome. But I didn't realize until I realized that I was going to actually need an attorney. Um, because I was innocent. I thought I was able to do this on my own. I was wrong.
You were able to do what on your own? Represent yourself in CPS court?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And like just innocent. I had like my children. Like there was nothing that had died, and I had no idea that I didn't have a clue what I had myself. What I was I not got myself into, but what I had ended up getting into with CPS.
Well, tell me what happened in your case.
So I am Uh, legally disabled, but she was cancer. Uh,
I'm
totally
sorry.
alive.
Hold on a second. You said you're what, disabled?
I'm legally disabled, so because of the fact that I have being tube and I have a genetic cancer. However, that didn't prevail me for from opening my own business or being able to raise my children. However, I was undergoing surgery and uh, my children were and they're babies, so they are 1 and 2 years old, and they're my miracle babies. However, I had gone through surgery to get feeding tubes put back in Boston, and I had my daughters with their godmother, who's they are the caretaker when I'm uh, in the hospital or that's their only that's their person, right? And I had actually had post operative complications, so my return visits to the hospital were a little more frequent. I wanted to take care of myself so I could be a present mother to my children and not neglect my own health and wait until it caught up to me. So I thought I was doing the right thing. However, my godmother had an emergency, so she brought my children to my mother's home, uh, and that was on a June 2nd, and it was the same day that I got discharged from the hospital and I haven't been returned. However, there was a call that came through out of nowhere that the hospital, pediatric primary care office that my two daughters go to, they had contacted the CPS or DCF in Massachusetts, saying that they missed 7 appointments and that they needed to see the children today. And demanded to see them. I told them they were with my mother in Rhode Island and that I was in the hospital and that I can confirm that they didn't miss any appointments. However, even talking with the ombudsman and uh, them saying, yeah, just no worries. Like, and I threw away the investigator from DCF and everything into the call with the Boston pediatric scheduler who confirmed that there was no appointments missed. They're up to date and everything. However, that didn't prevail them from stopping. They still continued to go to visit my mother in Rhode Island from Mass. She actually lives close to Connecticut. And I was in the hospital still, of course, working on getting discharged out. And they had gone there and they saw my children. And they told my mom that there was make sure that, no, we just came to check. My mom is very vulnerable. She just like is also very, she was the right person. Basically, they had my mom talking about things that happened, like uh, my mom has PTSD. She was just talking, and I don't know what my mom said, but it was nothing that possibly that they could have made. We couldn't have made a story about like their own story and put their own characters in. But however, they told my mom just to make sure that my fiance drives me home and I rest, and the children stay at my mom's house. They wanted to make sure I rest up for the weekend. It was a Friday. I was getting out. And make sure we don't come get the kids. And well, we did that, and my mom called me at 11:59 p.m. That night, and I had just gotten discharged, and said that she's bloody murder, crying, screaming, they took your babies. And after that call, I don't think my life has been the same, or I could ever say that I've been through a lot, but I've never been through something that was like so like there was no reason. They couldn't give me a reason why they did it. The police, the state police couldn't. They said they were just helping them do the mission. Social workers couldn't tell me one reason why, but unfortunately, my children, what we learned was that they were taken. And the DCF office in the South, New Bedford, I'm gonna broad enough, and the ongoing caseworker had admitted to me after I got out, after I got there on Monday, that within she didn't realize until after they removed my children. There was no reason to remove my children upon talking to me. They never tried to make an attempt to talk to me prior to prevent that from happening. So she said it's like beating a dead horse if we keep on talking about how they were wrongfully removed. And so we have to move forward, and this is like a vacation for me. Give it as a vacation. For me, that was just absurd. And how did you get a vacation? Those are my miracle babies. And I never want a vacation from them. A vacation is with them. And so but it didn't change anything. Even though they admitted that they wrongfully took them, they're still not, the system is the system. And it's so broken that there's just like, they don't have they still to this day can't give me one reason why. They all have a different answer. And they cannot, there's no reason why they took my children, and why they still have them in a foster care. They're placed, they get creative. They use domestic violence that was in the past, that was not when my children were born, against me. And then after the children were removed, there was an incident that was in retaliation of the court denying me a protection order after 7-hour hearing when I testified about the prior domestics. And that weekend, it triggered their father, who's a Marine veteran, and he has severe PTSD. It's like, that's nothing to, I mean, he's an amazing dad, but unfortunately, they knew what they were doing. They set it up. It was all in order, and that had happened that Sunday, and they were actually giving me my children back on Monday. But because that happened on Sunday, the children weren't returned to me. My attorney, appointed by the court, was not didn't do diligence to represent me. She forgot to represent me and went to the DCF attorney and not to the judge. Never put a discovery in, and I've been that dead horse, and so hasn't Dad, and it's been pretty. My children they've never seen neglect. They've never seen lack of care. And they never were without protection until the second that they entered that system. They denied any family kinship because mom's getting back, or they didn't get the right social. and they just kept going and going with that to put them in the foster care system for the, I don't know, maybe it's like the social worker, or maybe it's something about money. I believe currency has a lot to do with it, and it's not. My daughters are beautiful, absolutely. I mean, they were taken at, they both had their first and second birthday in a DCF office. Gracie, oh, I'm sorry. And I mean,
No.
it's, I don't understand it myself.
Miss Angelina, are your children in your custody?
No,
How many children are there?
just two.
Miss Stacy or Miss G, do you guys have any questions for Angelina?
Stacey, can I go first, baby?
You go for it, Miss G.
Angelina, you mentioned that you're gonna have them with you tomorrow. Is that what they told you?
I have tomorrow. I have we have a motion for the ICPC to be heard, and the judge to put them with my godmother. I meant to say tomorrow, as in when that took place in June, on June 2nd. That I was going to have my children back that Monday.
I think she's saying, Miss G, that they keep moving the goalpost.
Oh, okay. So
they're losing workers, and like they can't get anyone to, like, because they're so short staffed now. I don't have a caseworker. There's just like no reunification plan that was like finited, and so tomorrow I have a hearing with the court.
okay, so what type of hearing do you have tomorrow, Angelina?
Tomorrow is what was to be a pretrial hearing, but the children's attorney put in a motion for the and my new I did get appointed a new attorney for a push for them to have X amount of days to put together the reunification plan if they don't get the expedited out of state ICPC home study done for my godmother, because everyone lives in Rhode Island in my family.
What was the allegation against you?
It was they didn't have one. It was that they reversed it. It was that they thought that I was not taking care of my health, and I was engaging in domestic violence with Dad. And then it was Dad that they were concerned about, not me.
But wait, you had to reverse it. Did we talk earlier today, Angelina, or yesterday? Was that you? No, because
No.
I was communicating with somebody on the phone yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, and they told me that it was reversed as well. So the charges were reversed, not the charges. Whatever CPS wrote against them was reversed in court. That means they were lying, but they're still giving her the runaround, getting her kids back. But then CPS changed their story after that, but unfortunately, she has a court-appointed attorney, and I'm sure you have one too, correct? Yeah. So it's been happening. So I'm talking to several people who have similar story to yours. So now what they're doing, what I've noticed, is that the court-appointed attorneys, some, not all, are finding mistakes that the social workers do make, and they're catching them on the lies, but then the court reverse it, and then the social worker comes back and accuses the parent of something completely different than what was the actual charges or the actual reason why they stole the children to begin with. So so they told you nothing in the report as to why they're still detaining your children.
Correct. There's no updated court. There was no attorney that went in on my behalf after the Sunday on the June 11th when I was assaulted. There's domestic violence, but it was in retaliation to the social worker who she just resigned from the department, and she told me she wouldn't, because like she couldn't handle it anymore, she said. And she walked out of my house crying on September 1st, and I've never seen her. She was an ongoing caseworker. Uh, there was
When did they take your children?
they took them from on June 2nd without a warrant, without a court order, without emergency, without an emergency severe situation. They took
Did
them out.
somebody report you for domestic violence? Did somebody call on you, or how did this involvement happen?
The involvement happened because they said that the children missed doctor's appointments at Boston Children's Primary Care. I'm sorry, at the primary care doctor's office.
That was
We
so the
confirmed,
doctor is the one that reported you.
but the doctor had confirmed that we did not miss any appointments and that we were up to date. So it was just an appointment text reminder. It was a text alert allowing us to make an earlier appointment than the one that we had already scheduled. It wasn't a missed appointment. It was an opportunity to see them sooner. The domestic violence came up. It was in the past. My father of my children and I, we have not been living together since last November. So we were working on like the domestic violence had ended over a year ago. My children were never there for they were never part, like that was never something that was done right in front of them. As I made sure that we did the right thing and we separated. The children were never affected by domestic violence, and then that was like I was gone co on that. And however, when they talked to my mother, who is she's very protective of, she likes it things that she didn't talk about. She has PTSD, so she'll talk about like something that happened in 1995 and it's not her fault, but she forgets to say it happened in 1995 and talks as if it's in present day. But when they came, they went from Massachusetts to Rhode Island, to Hope Valley, Rhode Island, to her house on June 2nd that day. Even after confirming a three-way call that the children did not miss any appointments, like they were up to date. Their specialist, they would not, the social worker would not call the specialist. They refused to call a specialist. They changed the story 17 times of why they were removed. They couldn't, because each one didn't stick. The children's attorney's on my side asking, why are they not with mom? Why have they not been returned? And he's like, I only can do so much. I'm like, yeah, that's coming from someone, and down my, like, it doesn't make sense. The only thing I can say is that, like, I got to see the profiting that, like, the system is so broken. It's just so broken that, like, these are babies.
How old are the kids?
So September 7th, my daughter turned 1, and on June 23rd, my oldest turned 2, and they're crying for mama. They cry for mama and daddy and you can't watch your daughter take her first step twice.
I know.
And you can't sleep at night hearing your daughter use words that she's never used before, right? So they really like daycare in Massachusetts. They love daycare, right? Daycare is something they really want. Babies. I never thought of daycare as something where I would send a baby, like my 6 months old or 1 year. I would wait. I practice gentle parenting with I broke the generational like trauma bond that was happening in my family like through the years, right? And like the way my children, they're my miracle babies. Like I own my own business. I work from home. I didn't know that I also did something wrong by not putting them in daycare. I wasn't willing to put them in daycare. That was another allegation that they said.
Wait. Okay, first of all, they use that with parents. You don't have to put them in daycare at that age. That's not a law. Okay, that's not a law. For you to put them in daycare at that age. Just BS. Okay, that's it's a stupid strategy that they're coming up with nowadays. But to me, honestly speaking, you need to hire an attorney. You can't you can't depend. If you haven't gotten your kids back by now, you're not going to get them because they're babies and they're easily adopted. And the way CPS think about this is that the kids are not going to know their mom and dad at that age. They're going to forget. You understand? But these kids are missing something because there's a bond between children and their mom. So there's a bond. So that bond is not breakable, really, if you really think about it. They did a lot of study on it. So
Yes.
those kids are going to be traumatized because there's a piece of them missing, and they're not going to be able to put the pieces together. Their little mind is not going to understand that. So
Exactly. My daughter, my 2-year-old, they've never known anything but mom and dad. You know what I mean? When I tell you, like, daddy's little girl is like the best, like, and like what they're doing to my 2-year-old, I'm watching the effects of this happening to her now. For her emotions, she can't regulate them because she doesn't know how to say the big feelings that she has, but she's been in a state of shock since it's happened. I see them once a week for 2 weeks, for 2 hours. It's not okay for them 0 to 3 years old. Those are the most important years of their life. And you're gonna do this to little babies, innocent babies. Take me, like, put me through foster care. Put me, adult foster care. That's an industry too. My little girls who are literally, I'm watching, like, my 2-year-old, and she's throwing things, and she's angry, and I'm like, I'm out, I'm off for, and I tell her, it's okay. I understand you don't know how to say the big feelings you have right now. It's okay, mommy is right here. Give mommy a hug. I'm right here when you're ready. Sissy is too, and just be gentle. But when she says words like "mama," "boo boo," and she's touching her butt and saying to me, "Kiss it better," and then I change her diaper, and it's blisters everywhere. It's like, and refusal to take her to her
okay,
police
but
station.
Angelina, I hate to interrupt you, baby girl, but we can talk about this forever. But I need you to understand that. Um, oh my God, I forgot his name. We had an attorney. Oh my God.
Severs?
Yes, Attorney Severs. He's in your area. You need to call him. You need to call him. I have his number. I can text him. I can give him your name. If I can get your information from Grace, right? I'll give him your number, your name, and I'll have him call you. Okay? Because right now you need your babies because you look young, and you look like you can have more babies if you want. But if you do have babies after those set is gone, guess what? They're gonna come to the hospital and remove that baby from you as well. So please understand, it's hard. I know you're all over the place with your story because you're nervous, you're upset, you haven't slept. Most likely, I can tell from your eyes,
I
and
have,
you're not eating.
I have,
Exactly, I know. So I can tell. You're breaking down, and I understand you. I totally get you. I swear, I get you. I get you. I feel you. I feel your pain. And that's why I'm trying to understand a little bit more about your case. I mean, your situation, but you're not making sense right now. And I would be happy to um, to communicate with Attorney Seaver on your behalf with you on the phone with me. Okay. I'm going to have to ask him for an appointment first for you, and then we'll see what he can do for you. But right now, you can't just sit there and you have to fight for these babies. You
and
have to.
and every time I put up a fight, it's like a new story. Like, this is it did nothing make sense. Like I'm trying to make sense of their, like, just like that. It's a mess. It's like, what I'm telling you is like all over the place. It's so all over the place with what's going on, that, like, I'm doing the best I can to help the department try to seem kind of put together, but like it is so, like, I've been by my children, and
I wish, Angelina, you live in LA because Davis would have just eaten them alive right now. Like, I'm being honest with you. Um, like I said, I don't know if you ever watched the show, but I've seen him in action, and he's really, he's just amazing to me. He's amazing. That they need an aggressive attorney, um, And I like Attorney Seaver too. So I honestly, my humble opinion, baby girl, you need to hire him. I don't care if you have to sell. I
I'll
don't
tell my
know.
business. I don't care what I have to do.
Yeah, you have to do it, babe. You got to do it. You got to do it. But Stacey, do you have any questions for Angelina?
Who do you think reported you?
I believe that it was the mandated new social worker that at the pediatrician's office that had the scheduling error. But however, what I think happened was it was a setup from the beginning with them, because they knew I was not home for unexpected visits. They were not supposed to give. They were supposed to just give me like support when I'm moving into the Massachusetts from Rhode Island. They wanted it was like just to make sure they never had one case, and it was like they were like, no, yeah, so support. But I think what they happened was that my mom was talking about her pain. She has a narcissist, and I tell her to her face, and she knows this, that she has a very overpowering and overbearing sense of need of control. And when she talks, like she definitely had said things to them that allowed them to elaborate the story. But she also had it could have been her, I have no idea. But I still have they haven't produced. I mean, I have Boston. I have the specialists, like the doctors that are taking care, like the ones that are actually like took care of me at Boston Children's, like the same doctor that takes care of my daughters. They will not call the specialist. They won't. They refuse to talk to him because he's the chief, and the chief of NCO of Boston Children's. They won't talk to them either. They just want to talk to the like mandate. It seems like it's a system of like a circle of money. It's I'm sorry, forgive me, but like for what I'm taking it as is that it was a missed appointment, got misconstrued into an earlier appointment time that I might have hit Y on my cell phone and said yes, and then that yes of an earlier time didn't show up for the earlier time, and that it turned into them making up that storyline that fit their agenda. I mean, my daughters stick out like sore thumbs. Anyone would jump on top of them for foster care. The money that's in that business is insane, and they.
What's their school attendance like?
So they're going to a daycare. I
mean, before they got taken away, when they were with you, if you have all your pediatrician appointments made, that there was this error, but then it came to light that there were the pediatrician's appointments made. What was the schooling attendance like? Because if you can get them to school, you can get them to the pediatrician. I would think that, if you were negligent and you can't get them to the pediatrician, you would also not get them to school. So do the school records corroborate missed appointments and there's a lot of missing school, or were the pediatrician appointments perfect and the school attendance perfect?
It was the children are only 1 and 2 years old right now.
And yeah, that's right. They're little. Yeah.
But they do. But my daughter, my youngest had laryngomalacia, so she was being seen by specialists, and our specialists were a chief of otolaryngology and the chief of functional GI and dismotility. Their attendance at their appointments and with their speech, and the swallow and like studies, everything was perfect to a T. The primary care visit, the well child visit, where they put the baby on a scale and weigh her. That's it. That was just rescheduled one time. That was it. It was rescheduled because I was in the hospital.
So they weren't even like.
Correct.
They had multiple appointments all over the place, and you were making all of them.
All of them, every single specialist, and every single time that I asked them to.
So then, when they found out the pediatrician visits were accounted for, then they switched the allegations to domestic violence, but domestic violence never even existed during their lifetime.
Correct. And they had gotten the story from my mother, who had explained what happened in 2020 to them. And, modern day protection agencies.
And there's no other allegations?
No.
No, nothing. Other than the fact
that
they're
still not giving the kids back.
They're taking advantage of Angelina because she seems very unaware and
I don't know my rights.
very gullible and kind of,
Yes.
I think too, like what I see when I was first going through things and things were fresh for me, I didn't know how to tell my story well. I didn't know what was important, not important, what was significant. After I've been telling my story for over 10 years, it comes together a lot easier. But when you're new, when the trauma's all fresh and raw, it's very, you don't present as well.
Because you're confused up here. Your mind is so cluttered. Stacey, you look so pretty tonight, by the way. I love the makeup.
Then you don't know all the things that they're pulling, every time they pull the wool over your eyes, you're new to the arena, so they know to do everything really fast.
Yes. And that's exactly why they do that.
But Miss G, if I were to go back on my situation, because hindsight's always 20/20, I hired good attorneys. I didn't go cheap on my kids or anything. But definitely I hired the wrong attorneys. But I always learned through the course of everything. It's the prevention is always better than the remedy. So these cases, when they're new and they're young and they haven't been going on for 10 years, they're so much easier to fix than if you've been trying to fix it yourself and doing kind of not an adequate job because you're not as knowledgeable. So it may cost more up front, but it's going to save a lot of money in the long run and a lot of suffering and a lot of pain.
All the court-appointed attorneys exploited me and failed to represent me. Due diligence and like through their client confidentiality. Like it was like I went through 30 court-appointed attorneys, and then I tried paying 4, and then I paid an additional private attorney. It's just weird how it worked out where the attorneys never went to the judge; they went to the DCF attorney.
I think that court-appointed attorneys almost always end up being insufficient, and I'm sorry to say that, but and I almost think that it's like by design that they're insufficient.
Correct. I
You're
agree
right.
with that.
By design, baby. They love it. They love it. They get paid, Angelina.
Yes, I was going to say that. I was going to say I've been doing so much research on this. They are making it's a ring. It's a trafficking ring of unfortunately we don't children.
Angelina, speaking of trafficking, did you watch the show with me and Stacey today? Earlier?
No, I honestly was not. I didn't see it. I wasn't on my phone at all today earlier. What was it?
Stacey, you want to go ahead and tell her?
So there's a lot of research in our own government amidst these horrific problems. First of all, I don't know if you probably do because of the terms you're using, but the United States is the #1 hub for child sex trafficking in the whole world. We are #1.
And California is #1, baby.
Yeah, the states are California, New York, Florida, and Texas. Those are the worst. And they all have a border. And Florida doesn't really sort of have a border, but it's close to Venezuela. So how do we earn that title of being the worst country in the whole world with sex trafficking kids? It's our foster care system. The U.S. Department of State on Human Trafficking, they put out a report every single year on human trafficking throughout the world. And they even admit, our own government admits. Like, I'm not even just talking about what was said in The Sound of Freedom, a movie. I'm talking about these are government reports released by our own government. And the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, the NCMEC, they also say, they put out reports, 88% of sex trafficked kids come from foster care.
Oh,
and
yep.
So that's how we're number one in the world. It's our foster system, because everything's so confidential. The kids go and nobody knows where they go. Because they keep all the information confidential and hidden. And then it even goes, Miss G was reading the report, and the numbers of children that are missing. And they've known this for a long time. It's not new information, because in the year 2014, they came out with the Preventing Sex Trafficking and Safe Families Act. And that was specifically because of the kids that were going missing from the foster care system, and that CPS was not reporting them missing. And we shouldn't have to have an act to remind social workers to do their job and report missing children, but they're not. And again, that's by design, not by, oops, I forgot to report a missing kid.
But Stacey, the reason they're not reporting the kids missing
because they're sex trafficking,
to lose the funding.
Yes.
The funding is for them. And also,
they're sex trafficking them, Ms. G. That's where our missing kids are going. This is where they're funneling them from.
Yeah, it's right here. It says, after auditing more than 74,000 cases, auditors estimated that 47% or 34,869 of the missing children were never reported to the NCMEC. An additional 22%, which is 16,246, were reported late. Further, and the audit revealed that the majority of the cases were reported on time and inaccurate and other data quality issues. So basically, here it says federal law requires child welfare agencies to report child missing from foster care placement. And I read earlier also, they said that 74,353 cases were all found to be sex trafficked children. They're sex trafficked. And all the children who are sex trafficked are from CPS custody. That's where all the children are. And this audit would not have happened if it wasn't for a Homeland Security guy that did that movie. That's a true story, which is Sound of Freedom. He spoke up. He's been trying with the government. That's why he resigned from Homeland Security, because nobody would do anything about it. Our government knew about this sex trafficking ring from CPS custody. And that's why CPS workers tells the foster home not to report it to the police. They tell them to report it to us, because they don't want it to be all over social media or all over the news.
There was a FBI agent.
What?
There was an FBI agent, Ted Gunderson. He's now deceased.
Yeah.
I've actually talked with one of his close friends.
Mm-hmm.
Very close friend. And Ted Gunderson gave speeches on how they would even have like commercial airplanes full of children. And if anyone asked where they were coming from, it was like, do not ask, do not tell. And they were sending kids to just different countries even.
And is there something with like the social workers who there's like a thing where they have like a culture as like foster like go-tos, like their go-to foster families that they assign to the children to. It's like my children were not placed in the same foster home at first. My 2-year-old was moved around 5 times. However, they both ended up with Tia. Tia. That was the screenshot I got by accident, and that same social worker has left. And after admitting to me, I mean, so is there like something? Is that, as I was just reading about how like the 600,000 severe substantial concern cases were ignored because of the fact, and then this was put out through the U.S. child welfare system struggle to protect children, because of the fact that they are turning away from the damage control and focusing on the profit control, more or less.
But that gives it should give you that anger in you to get an attorney. Get an attorney, Angelina. You're not going to be able to do this. They're not going to return you your babies. I'm telling you right now. Okay? They're not. I'm telling you right now. If they tell you reunification or they tell you they're going to give you the kids next week, that's a
Oh,
lie.
it's been
Right? That is a lie.
reunification for so long. It's been since July. I'm not, and I'm not buying. I can't let. I'm not supposed to cry out of emotion. I'm stable enough. I'm angry,
I
and
know.
I'm not letting my children go down for something that a country that they didn't choose to be brought in this country. I like they didn't get to choose to come into something where their innocent little lives just get taken to go get trafficked for money. No, 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 no.
Angelina,
And a
I
lot of
tell
people think that foster homes are legit. They're not, because they're finding out a lot of foster parents they have sex offenders living there. A lot of foster parents are sex trafficking children. That was in New York recently. It was on the news. Two foster homes, sex trafficking children, 9, 12, 14, and 16. They're
Yes,
sex trafficked currently, and the foster parents are benefiting from this. And where's social workers knew. They knew.
and they're
They
still working,
knew, babe.
and they're
They knew.
I remember, Angelina, my claim to fame and why I'm on this show is my ex-husband was an attorney for CPS, and my kids disclosed sex abuse and strangulation, and guess who has custody?
Mm-hmm.
And his coworker now went to jail. Another attorney for Niagara County CPS in New York went to jail because he is a level 3 violent sex offender, and he was an attorney for the same CPS my ex was. And that guy was involved in my case as well. And I know other attorneys who have not yet been accountable, same thing, and they all worked together.
Mm-hmm. They're crazy. I'm telling you guys. You guys don't understand that this system is designed to fail us. This system
and
is designed to fail us.
we're going back into concentration camps. Excuse me for saying this, but I'm just like the same way that they're running like we're not protecting children. Like we're not. There's no child profiting agent system. There's no CPS. It's not CPS is like, but it's a child profiting system. It's not protection, and I don't think that like how I truly feel. I'm angry, like the like if I could say how I felt in words, that would sit. But politely, what I'm going to say is, I'm taking every piece of advice that you had given me. I'm not going to let them go down without the. No, 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 no. My children, no, my babies are coming home, and I will hire. If it means that I have to, with my like, they've taken the every civil right that and human right. Like I had the U.S. attorney call me back and told me, no, your human rights were taken. But once you get your children back, then we can go in and take full charge. But it's like, like get the
People
box.
don't understand your parental rights is taken from you whether you have your kids or not. That's what people don't understand. You can't make decisions the way we used to make decisions, the way my parents used to make decisions with me and my brother and sisters. I mean, it's not the same anymore. I'm thankful I grew up in a great home. I'm thankful for that. But unfortunately, nowadays the kids are suffering. Why? Because they're enabling children to go against their parents, especially the teenagers, and they're telling them, come with us. We'll take care of you. Mommy and daddy will pay our incentives. Mommy and daddy will be there to pay our salary. And that's exactly who we are to the government. We're just a register machine that carries money, and they actually make you go work to pay them child support. That's how disgusting the system is. Instead of using the incentives from the federal side to help parents, they're using it to help the foster homes. And that to me is the most disgusting, despicable act you could ever do to a parent. When you use the money, instead of using it on them, you're using it on the foster parents. And to me, if you put a child or children in a foster home that wasn't approved or proper for a child to be placed in, and you knew about it, how can you make the excuse that the mother is a bad mom or the father is a bad father? How dare you? How dare you put people through this? To me, I'm so sick of talking about it. Voting is not going to work. It's not going to work because you don't know who you're voting for. Because at the end of the day, they could be wonderful, but then what? Then what? Are they going to do what they're supposed to do? I want one running candidate to say, I want to defund DCFS. I want one running candidate to make that his or her mission to do that. And I'll vote for you. So many other people will vote for you. But the rest of the Americans, they're not awoke yet. They don't know what's going on. They think DCFS is legit. They're not legit. Unless it happens to you, you will never know. They're not legit. They're not here to protect your children or anyone's children, in fact. They're after everyone's children because they make their money. So remember that, America. Next time you go vote, I want one candidate, I'm telling you right now, to say, I'm going to do everything in my power to defund CPS.
We just court watched today.
Do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
I promised myself that I was going to do that. What's my children? I've been studying. I am taking a whole turn in my business. Like my whole, like, there will be a defund, and it will be defunded. And if it means, like, I never thought I'd be into legislative, like that. No. Government needs to be shut down and reformed itself. And you said, like you said, it shouldn't have to happen to you in order for you to believe it's happening to other families. Because trust me, it's not something that you want to go through. And it's something that I never thought that, like, a bad dream or a nightmare. You can't even make this up. It's out of control. And the Take Care of Maya movie shed light on it, but it wasn't, it did not, but it's even worse than what it's like. All I'm going to say is that justice will be served, and we.
No, justice is not going to be served, Angelina.
I will fight.
The video that Davis made about justice. I forgot the name of the video.
I don't have any justice, but
you can't go to court for justice. I mean, Davis. I mean, what do you have to say about justice? She's saying justice will be. What's justice, Davis? What is justice to you?
Is Angelina?
Yes.
I didn't follow what you were saying about justice. What did you ask?
I was saying that because there is no justice in our justice system, I want, if it means I have to be the one and I take the initiative to have to make sure that these people are held accountable and justice is served. And I mean, I'm not saying it's being served, but one day it will be served. If that means that I have to, like, whatever I have to do to make sure that no family goes through this and no child is put at the front line of a dollar bill for a government. But I don't believe in justice, that we don't have any justice here.
She wanted justice first. That's what she said. And I said, there is no justice. And that's how it started. And I told her about your video, the one you made. What is justice? I think that was
Angelina, after the show, I want you to go to YouTube. Mm-hmm. And like Miss G said, I made a video called What is Justice? And I'm standing in front of a whiteboard, and I'm actually explaining it to two clients who made the video and then gave it to me and told me to post it on YouTube. Justice isn't what you think it is. When we talk like this about justice, you and I are talking about, and Miss Stacy and Miss G are talking about things that we feel in our heart, in our mind, what we learned from our families, that type of thing. But that's not justice. And I'm not sure it was ever meant to be in our system.
No.
We have a system of justice that most people have no idea about. None. You know, I was representing a woman recently, and no case had been filed yet. And I took her through the CSW interview. And after the interview, I gave her a list of 3 things to do and not do. You know what she told me? After the interview, because it went so well, because I was there controlling it, she said, I have my own strategy.
Well,
and I said, okay. In the old days, I would get upset and argue with people about that, but I don't anymore. You know, if you don't want to take my advice, it's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's your family. You do what you think is best. The problem is that she believes she knows what justice is. She believes she knows what she needs to do. Will she ever be right? Yes, she will be. The probabilities are she won't be. But how are you going to explain to someone that everything that you've believed for your 35 years or 40 years of life isn't true? That's a hard nut to crack. I could tell Miss G something right now.
Don't even
And
go.
because she has a different experience in life, she won't know what to do in court.
True.
She won't. But she'll believe it. Belief is a kind of a funny thing. The University of Chicago did a study years ago. 80 or 85% of what we believe, it's false. You ever think of that? 80 to 85% of what we believe
It's false.
is false. And sometimes you believe something that you believe to be true, even though you're staring, the truth in black and white. And you see the truth, but you just, like you can't bring yourself to accept that you're wrong. Angelina, so you can't make those mistakes. You got to get in touch with a good lawyer. We recommend, our colleague out in Boston, Mr. Seaver.
Yep.
I've talked to Mr. Seaver many times. He's been a guest on our presenter on our first Saturday seminars. The guy knows what he's doing.
Yes,
He's very experienced. And here's the thing, and I tell this to some clients, you hire me, you pay me thousands of dollars, and then you don't want to do what I recommend. Okay. Just don't blame me when it doesn't work. So, and a lot of the things I'm going to tell you, tell Miss G or Miss Stacy if she was a client, they're going to be counterintuitive. In other words, they're going to be things that you thought it was red and it's really green. Because you know why? I have 37 years of experience. It's not that I'm smarter than anybody else. I'm not. I'm average intelligence. But I have 37 years of experience. Think about that. Miss Angelina, are you even 37 years old? Right. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. And for you to ask me a question and then not follow my advice, I get it. But if you want to play the probabilities, you might want to follow your attorney's advice or follow Mr. Seaver's advice. And I don't even know that much about your case. I haven't reviewed anything, but I can tell you based upon my experiences with Attorney Seaver, he's going to give you good advice. You may not like it.
If I can interject, though, because she has assigned attorneys. And when you tell people to follow their attorney's advice, I still think to be careful. I trust you, Mr. Davis. I've watched you long enough and listened to you. I trust you. I trust, Mr. Ducote, who I know, and certain people. You have to get yourself into the hands of a good attorney, and then you can place your trust in that person. Yep. But these assigned attorneys, I think every single time they're going to be insufficient enough that you feel like you're getting some sort of representation, but it's never enough to do the job because it's intended to never be enough to do the job. I'm sorry, but it's how I feel. So you have to get yourself into a good, reputable attorney and then trust what they tell you to do.
That's right.
Hey, Miss Angelina, I'm sorry for jumping in, but we're past the cutoff time tonight. I want to thank you for being a guest and being on and sharing your story with us. It's very much appreciated, and I'm sure our audience that has watched live and the audience that will watch forever in the future on YouTube and Facebook appreciate you coming on and sharing. And I want to thank my two co-hosts, Miss G, Miss Stacy. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. And we're going to be on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'll see everybody there. Grace, can I have some outro music? Yes, Miss G.
Oh, I was just waving at
Oh,
Angeline.
okay. All right. I guess Miss Grace is sleeping right now. So, oh, there it is. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good